That's good. That song right there, friends. We don't back down. We are here. We are here because one man stood against us. A tyrannous governor was elected and challenged our freedoms. And we almost let it happen. That's why we're here. This can never happen again. We must stand up to what is taking place right now and say no and not back down. Friends, you know what I stand for. I stand against absolutely everything this man stands for, and that is not going to change. Illinois knows that. Illinois is tired of that. This is the grassroots movement that's taking place. You guys are completely unmonitored. I assure you of that. No poll, no establishment, no one knows what's going to happen. We do because we're out there. We're meeting with people like yourselves, people who have never been involved in government before. Many of you haven't voted. Some of you have been Democrat in the past, and you understand that our freedoms are slipping away, and it makes no sense. So we have to stand up and get our state back. And friends, I'm going to tell you something. In 2022, it is going to happen. 16 months from now, I assure you, it's going to be a new day in Illinois. Friends, you've heard political rhetoric all of your life. It makes me sick. I am a farmer from Southern Illinois. I've been married to the woman of my dreams for almost 35 years. Today is not our anniversary. She posted a wonderful post on picture, and it blew up into our anniversary. August 2nd, it's coming. So we have 4 children, have 10 grandchildren. Farm 12,000 acres with my 3 sons. We have a trucking business. We have an excavating business. I have 15 men and women that work on the farm for us, with us. That's why I'm here. Because in 2017, my state representative in the most conservative district of the state supported a budget. And that budget accomplished one thing: raising the Illinois tax code up by 32%. That is all it accomplished. No reforms, no nothing. And then on top of that, it was $1.5 billion upside down. And those days continue, and those days are what are destroying the future of our children. So friends, we just simply stand up and stand against this nonsense. There was just something down here deep in my... Let's back up a little bit. The Illinois Republican Party spent a $1.5 million against me when I decided to primary this gentleman at the asking of many of our friends. And we garnered a couple $100,000. We went out, we outworked him, and we won by 60-40. Governor Randall wanted to meet a little bit later, and he said, "How in the world did you do that?" I said, "Well, I got out and worked like we all do." And friends, listen, with hard work, that is my point. Don't you dare sit there and think that this job is impossible. This job, in my opinion, is actually already done. We just got to go through the motions for 16 months and make sure more people get on board. You've heard everything. All this stuff you've heard today is amazing stuff. This is the foundation of our constitutional republic at work. Do you remember what Ben Franklin said when he walked out of Independence Hall when they were drafting the Constitution? Someone asked him, "What have you guys been doing in there?" You remember what he said? "We have given you a republic if you can keep it." If you can keep it. We're there. We're at that if you can keep it part, friends. And we've got all the mechanisms. We've got all the tools. We've got absolutely everything at our disposal. But as conservative, free-loving Americans, I think we've kind of fallen asleep. I have. I got complacent. I love to work, so I just stayed on my farm and built my farm up. My wife and I, we were heavily involved in our church. I served on the North Clay School Board for 17 years. We were heavily involved in our youth, raising our family, the American dream, right? But I didn't really want to get involved as a precinct committee person. I had no time to go to the Republican events, and that was for somebody else. Well, God bless every one of you out here who have been serving as a precinct committee person, in your Republican committees, as a county, any form of elected position. I thank you for that. And I'm telling you, in 2022, Every electable position in the state of Illinois must be filled. The library board, the park boards, the county boards, the school boards, the precinct committee persons, on and on and on. Go to your county clerk, find out what offices are open, and pray and fast and talk to your friends. Make sure you have the wisdom to know which position you are best suited for. Go sign up and run for office. Woo! Library board. What's the big deal about a library board? You guys walked in any of your libraries up in this part of the world lately? You walk into that, you got drag queens reading stories to your children. Walk in and take a look at some of the pornography that's sitting in front of on some of the tables in the front when you first walk in as some of the new releases. It's sickening. People are making that decision to allow that to happen. You could be on that board to make sure that it doesn't happen. School boards. We found out how important that is, right? Yeah. The last year in lockdown, when I sued the governor a year ago and won, don't you think that case has been dismissed or overturned? Because it hasn't. Governor Pritzker stood up on his high platform and he said, well, that's just for Darren Bailey. A little bit later, he said, well, that's just for Clay County. A little bit later, that's just for Representative, later on Senator Bailey's district. Well, that's just for one of the 6 COVID districts I made up. He said every bit of that. It was all a lie, friends.
It's for us.
The case has never been, but here's the deal. You want to know what made life a little bit different for us in our part of the world than for you up here? We had Republican, conservative, freedom-loving sheriffs and state representatives. So that stuff went nowhere. We've been free. So you want to find out where the buck stops in this constitutional republic and the state level and the county level? It ends with your sheriff and your state representative, or your state's attorney. In our district, when all this began, we had 2 Democrat sheriffs and we had 1 Democrat state's attorney in 9 counties in my state representative district. We have now 0 Democrat state's attorneys, and the 2 sheriffs converted over to Republicans, made a formal announcement. So here's the deal. I've stood up, got kicked off the floor for not wearing the mask. It wasn't all just about the mask. It was about the process. I explained that very well. They voted me off. I went out. Came back the next day to represent my people. Towards the last bit up in Springfield, even the Democrats. At one point in time, the president of the Senate in the last 3 weeks of session, this last go-around, literally stood up and told anybody that was talking to take their masks off because he couldn't hear them. And he stood up there all day long with his off. Just complete hypocrisy is what I have witnessed in Springfield, and I know that you have too. So how do we, bigger picture, what do we do? What can a governor do? How important is it to get a Republican, conservative, freedom-loving governor in office, as well as getting every position? 2020, there's 118 state representative districts. 52 of those in the state of Illinois were unchallenged by a conservative. Almost 40 of those have been uncontested in the Chicago city limits for almost 20 years. Cindy and I are being invited in the churches in the south side and the west side, and we go and we talk to our friends there. They don't know anything different. We have the conversation that, well, Chicago's been Democrat-controlled forever. Yeah, they get that. Illinois, Mike Madigan, you've heard of him, 50 years. Yeah, they knew that. And you kind of want this V8 moment that, well, yeah, I didn't think about that. We could do. No, that's the only message they've ever heard. So to go in there and have a conversation and talk about freedom and couple that with the role that the church has with our republic, people are waking up all across this land. And the church has a vital role to play. Don't forget this last, the constitutional fair tax amendment. You remember that? Needed 60% to pass. Remember that? It lost by what? 65%. That is a landslide Republican victory on the state level, and that is what's going to happen again. Don't forget, we're sitting here talking about school issues. Don't forget about the governor's role in that. Who picks the Illinois State Board of Education members? The governor. Who picks every department head, including the Illinois Department of Public Health? The governor. Who picks the trustees of the land-grant universities? The governor. Did you know that? And we're sitting here asking ourselves, why? Do you think these people, the State Board of Education or the land-grant, all these colleges coming down with these rogue decisions, they're answering to one person, the governor. That's how much power this person has. Just yesterday, or on Friday, he announced, did you guys hear this on the prisoner review board? The newest candidate, the newest pick, is a double felon for murder. Yeah, that's what's going on. So here's what he does. It's the Senate's duty to approve these nominations. And you got 70 days for the Senate to approve it. 69 days in, he pulls it. 2 days later, puts them back in. This has been going on for 2.5 years, and we're not hearing that. We stood up on the Senate floor every day and demanded that the members of the Prisoner Review Board be submitted to the Senate so that we could learn who they were and talk about approving them. And as a matter of fact, we approved some of the members who are trustees to many of our colleges for the first time in 2 years. This is the nonsense that is taking place, and this must change. So friends, I come here to tell you how important, how possible it is. I love telling the story when you hear me talk about the importance of the church. I love this because I want you to consider why this country even exists. Who were the first people that came over here and colonized it? People fleeing religious persecution in other countries. I want you to go back. I've got 2 books here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Wall Builders. David Barton in Texas, wallbuilders.org. About a third of these books is cited material. This is true history. It's forgotten history. Some of us learned it a little bit when we were in 3rd and 4th grade, but we've forgotten about it. Have one book here. You can get it on Amazon or at Wall Builders. It's The Separation of Church and State. It tells you the truth. The other book is The Role of Pastors and Christians in Civil Government. You're going to learn things like 501c3 status means absolutely nothing because the Constitution protects the full integrity and right of the church. You're going to learn things, relearn things that back in the early days of the Revolutionary War, you remember hearing about these little towns, Trenton, Concord, and Lexington? Remember hearing that? The shot heard around the world, first 3 engagements. That was not the Continental Army that stood up. That was the church. 3 local individual church pastors stood up as the British were invading their territory, and they said no more. So friends, this is the truth of our country, and we have to take it back. And I believe wholeheartedly that what is going to take place here in Illinois in 2022 is going to reverberate all across this nation. You can flee to Florida, you can go to Tennessee, you can go to Texas, you can go across the border anywhere you want and think that you're safe. Friends, it's coming if we don't stop it here in Illinois. It's coming. So blessed to be in the company and the honor of the people that have spoke today. And I think that's what you're hearing, that's what you're finding out. Just like this gentleman sitting over here that served his country so valiantly in Vietnam. One at a time. Woo! One at a time. We stand up and we say, I'm not doing this. I'm not budging. Because I can assure you that a year ago when I filed suit against J.B. Pritzker, we were being told that millions of people were going to die any day. I promise you, I went to bed that night just wondering what in the world am I going to do if I wake up and I see the headlines tomorrow that millions of people are dead. I'm going to be the biggest fool in the world. But deep down in here, something told me that this is the right thing to do. It's time to stand. It's time to push back. Because unlike our founding fathers, our lives are not on the line. Our fortunes aren't currently on the line. Our homes and our families aren't currently being threatened. But they will be soon. We've heard the stories, and this is happening fast. Go up into the Chicagoland. Cindy and I were at Nini's Deli just the other day. They called and invited us. You know, they were pushed out by BLM a year ago. And they're all Cuban descent. And then we sat there and we listened to Juan tell us the story of how his family 2 years in Cuba, 2 years, and everything changed. Cindy and I were up walking, door knocking for Jeannie Ives and Chris Boss and many people up in the Chicagoland area around here. And we'd find it was in the summer of last year. A lot of men were mowing their yards, and I hate bugging people, but I'd walk up and just kind of they'd hang the door knocker on their door, and they'd stop and they'd come over, and they always had some kind of a Serbian, a Czechoslovakian, an Armenian accent to them, and they would stand there and first thing ask me, Republican or Democrat, and then they would go into the story about how they fled this once and they are so sick of that it's happening again. But friends, we have the means to turn this around. It's called constitutional free elections. We have to get involved, and it's got to start. I've been asked just to make a few quick announcements. Be sure, whenever you leave here today, go over to the tables over here at the outside of the building. Sign up. That's the only way. Get on our email list so we can get you information. You can get more involved that way. There is a petition out there for for Homer Township to become a sanctuary, a life township. That's amazing. I want to thank so much the Benston family for being so brave a year ago to open this place up and push against They could have been sued, right? They might have had somebody come and arrest them. That were the threats that they faced when they did this. But they stood up, they did what's right, just as each one of us must do, as Camille said, when we leave this property, when we head back home. So thank you so much for the Illinois Patriots for doing this. I understand that Will County, this next election in 22 is 3 seats away from taking the majority. Many, many places that have been inundated with the Democratic, liberal ideas. It's changing. Let's put a stop to everything. Let's get out. Let's do our job. Friends, I cannot tell you how honored and blessed that I am to speak to you today. Cindy and I are going to be all over this state for the next year. You've got to churches, friends, family, businesses. Get a hold of us, baileyforillinois.com, and invite us. We will come and we will be there. I will never waver. I will never change. And I will stand up and do what's right to get this state of Illinois turned around. And the plans are there to make that happen. And I'll talk with you about that later. God bless you.